Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here on Whiplash TV. Today, we're going to do another Draggy test. I hope y'all have really enjoyed these Draggy tests. I know that I have. I've always wondered, real world numbers, what some of these things do. So far, we've done the muffler. So far, we've done weight reduction. We've also Draggy tested the Corvette servo upgrade. First off, please, if you would, help me out and continue to support the channel by hitting that thumbs up. And also consider subscribing if you haven't already. And also ring that notifications bell so that you'll get notified every time I post another video. Thank y'all so much for all of y'all who have been supporting the channel. We're almost to 900 subscribers and closing in on 1,000 before you know it. I can't thank y'all enough for watching the videos and supporting the channel. It really means a lot. So let's go ahead real quick and we're going to do just a really fast unboxing of the K&N Air Intake. Look at what's in the box real fast. Then I'm going to install it real quick, show y'all what it looks like installed on the truck. And then we'll go ahead and get into the Draggy runs and we'll take a look at what the Draggy run was with the stock air intake, and then also what the Draggy run was with the K&N Air Intake, and see if we picked up any time in the quarter mile or if it wasn't worth it. I know there's some controversy. I've seen it before out on the Facebook groups and forums. Some people are like, hey, air intake doesn't do nothing. Of course, a lot of people feel like a throttle bias spacer doesn't do anything, and it might not. I haven't tested that one. However, an air intake, some people I've seen on there saying that air intake does not do anything and doesn't make the vehicle faster at all, doesn't add horsepower or any of that. Let's do some real world testing and let's find out what really happens and what really is the truth of the matter. All right, so let's take a look at this air intake right quick. All right, so we're just going to do a really quick and simple unboxing of the K&N air filter system. They claim guaranteed horsepower and torque, which you would think should make us faster. We'll see what it's going to do. Right here's the part numbers, the 57-3050 kit. This is the one for my truck. I have electric fans, so the plastic air intake tube is going to be a little bit different. All right, so you get weather stripping in with the kit. That's going to go on the heat shield. Here is the plastic molded tube. I always pick the intakes from K&N with the plastic tube because the plastic tube is going to heat soak the least, because plastic obviously does not conduct as much heat and store that heat like a metal tube will. Got a coupler. Another coupler. This piece always goes on the actual heat shield, which is what the filter goes on. It's nice and smooth right here for the airflow to come in and hit the mass airflow sensor, which will be back behind it. Bunch of clamps. And then there's also a real nice heat shield. So this right here is where that plastic piece will go on. The air filter will come off this direction. And then this will mount down near where the factory air box is. One thing I like about the K&Ns is they always seem to have a really good heat shield design, which that will separate you a little bit from the other ones. Because the colder the air, the more power you're going to make. The hotter the air, it's not going to be as good for you. And in your tune, there's actually a table that will pull timing when the intake air temperatures get to a certain degrees. And then lastly, we have a real nice large air filter. Like I said before, we're going to test all this out and see, does it actually pick us up anything in the quarter mile on the Draggy? We're gonna find out, but first we gotta get this installed. K&N always has a really nice set of instructions that are very easy to follow with pictures and everything. So all of y'all sitting watching at home on this video, you can install this air intake. Even if you don't have a lot of mechanical knowledge, you can do it. In this kit, it does not give you a dyno graph like it does in some others. They just simply say horsepower guaranteed. They said this kit is guaranteed to increase horsepower. I am not thinking that this air intake is going to give us as big of a gain as the muffler did. If you haven't seen that, go check out that video. We gained quite a good bit of time off of that muffler swap out and getting rid of the stock tailpipe and stock muffler. So I think the exhaust modification is going to be a better bang for your buck. And I also definitely feel that a custom tune is a better bang for your buck as well than an air intake. Not to say that the air intake isn't worth doing, but we're gonna go ahead and test that out. So now it's time to go ahead and get this old stock intake out the way. As I showed you, that nice higher flowing plastic elbow area will be in here. We'll have a heat shield, the open air filter, and all that. So taking this off is super easy, and the new one's gonna look better and hopefully be an upgrade in power and help make the truck faster. So like I say, it's real simple. Just loosen this hose clamp here. This right here will just push on out of that holder right there. You're gonna undo your electrical connection on your mass airflow sensor, and your box just will pull up and out. So like I said, it's really simple to change out. You can follow the instructions on the K&N instructions. I'm not gonna waste or bore y'all's time with a lot of this. So I'm gonna get this ripped out, install the new one, and then we'll take a look at the new one. So here's the brand new K&N Air Intake. Again, this is a 2005 Chevy Silverado 5.3 LM7. Like I said, I've got electric fans, so they don't stick out very far. So this tube is able to come out a ways further and clear everything. Normally on the Chevy trucks, when you've got the crank-driven fan, the fan shroud sticks out and up in here, and this has to be much more close to the throttle body, which is not as good for flow. And then on this one, the mass airflow sensor actually bolts up to that metal piece that the filter goes on, and it actually comes with a rubber gasket that goes on this side by the mass airflow sensor and a rubber gasket that goes by the metal piece that the filter goes on, so it sandwiches it in between the metal heat shield to help provide a good seal. You never want to get airflow to the engine on the back side of the mass airflow sensor, because that'll cause issues. So that's nice that they provide that gasket. Make sure all your air comes right through your air filter. Whenever you install one of these, always grab onto that tube and try to move it. You want to make sure that everything is good and tight. I can't tell you how many people's vehicles I've had come for a tune, and when I check that air intake, it's loose or it's turning somewhere or isn't all the way on the throttle body. So I always pay good attention to that. I removed this metal tray that sat beneath the air intake box because I wanted this down here to be wide open. So without that tray, it's wide open down beneath it. So that should help us to get plenty of cool air from down in here anywhere it wants to. And then this is going to help us try to get closer to sealing up by the hood and shielding any hot air. So now the next thing to do is fire it up and see how it sounds. So yeah, now you can hear it suck in air when you actually get on the gas. Not only will it sound better, but it should flow quite a lot better than the stock one. But now, to put that theory to the test, we're going to go out and go do another Draggy run and see what we pick up. 1/4 mile. So just real fast to cover a couple of the variables that you may have noticed in the video, or maybe you didn't, on those Draggy runs. The density altitude was just a little bit better on the stock cold air intake run. Also, the stock air intake run had just a little bit more gas in the tank than the K&N Air Intake run. Neither of those moves were a whole lot. The density altitude was like 200 DA worse in the K&N Air Intake run, and then the tank of gas, it wasn't more than 1/4 of a tank of difference between 3/4 and like a half. When you look at the Draggy runs, the difference is 14.95 in the stock air intake run, and the first K&N Air Intake run was 14.79. So that's a gain of 0.16 in the 1/4 mile. So just over 1/10 and a half. And then the second run, it was 14.69. So that would be a gain of 0.26, almost 1/4 second in the 1/4 mile. Now, the reason why I went ahead and I showed you 2 runs of the K&N cold air intake is because of the fact that if you look in the top right-hand corner of the stats page, it says invalid and it says low satellite. That's the first time with the Draggy I've ever run into that. However, even though it said low satellite, it still got all the data. It still acted completely fine. So why it says that, I'm not completely sure. But I figured just to go ahead and like back up that run, I would make another pass. And so I made 2 of them, and for some reason it said low satellite on the both of them. I'm not sure why it said low satellite when I was in an area where it should have had plenty of signal, but that's what it said. However, I feel pretty confident about the runs. The run that was a 14.69, I'm not going to call that necessarily what you would gain out of a K&N cold air intake, and only because the slope percent was a little bit more negative, so just a hair more downhill. DA was exactly the same because they were back-to-back runs. But I think because of that little bit extra negative slope, I think it gained, just a little bit off of that. The mile per hour gain from these runs, we started with around 94.5 mile per hour. And on these runs, we got up to like 95.25 mile per hour, 95.25 in the 14.79 run. And then the next run, we actually saw into the 96 mile per hour range. Your mile per hour is a very good indicator of the fact that you are making more horsepower. Seeing that extra mile per hour is a really good sign that the truck is making a little bit more horsepower, which is what K&N claims. So it appears like their claim is correct and the truck is making more power. It is running faster. To summarize it, yes, a K&N cold air intake or certain other well-made cold air intakes will actually increase horsepower, and they will make you faster in the 1/4 mile. Also, just driving the truck, it feels like it's a little bit more responsive as well, and it does feel more peppy, and the truck does feel like it's making more horsepower. So just to summarize, I feel like the K&N Cold Air Intake, based off the data, is going to be good for around a 0.18 to 0.20. So about 0.2 to just shy of 0.2 in the quarter mile, and right around maybe 1 mile per hour is probably what you're going to see out of an air intake on your vehicle. One that's made very good, like the K&N is. So just to summarize it up, also compared to our other mods, it did not pick up as much as the Carvin R race style muffler test that I did, and it did not pick up as much as my Whiplash Motorsports tune did. So when it comes to bang for your buck, free mods obviously should come first, but then aside from that, the tune and the muffler were the best bangs for your buck, with the tune being number one. And then the K&N Air Intake is definitely worth doing, and it falls behind those other mods though, because that air intake is going to run you about $275 to $325 depending. I caught it when it was on sale, so I paid the lower amount. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think of this test, and let me know your thoughts and what you think about it. Also, please, again, before you get out of here, please check and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you rung the notifications bell so that you'll get notified on the next video. And please also hit like on the video. Thanks again for supporting Whiplash TV, and thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next video.